Welcome back to Goldenridge. Today we're building a super unique bridge over the river that will anchor our downtown core, and if you stick around till the end, we're laying out one of the most complex highway networks we've ever built. So let's get to work. Now that our whole highway infrastructure system is in, it's time to start looking at what it connects to. So I think we'll start with some roads today, but I did have a great comment from MechTech Potato, which is also a great username, that this highway coming off the bridge doesn't really connect to our highway that goes out to Blackfoot, and that's totally true. So at some point we will be adding a nice big intersection here that will take you right from the bridge to Blackfoot. But first, I want to look downtown, because I think if we have our downtown layout nice and organized and knowing where all the roads are and all the entry points and exit points are, it'll help us build everything around it to connect really well. So the first thing I want to do is look right across the river here into this inner city area that I laid out in the map in the last episode. So I have an idea of what I want to do, and if you're from a particular West Coast city, I think you will recognize what we're going to build today. And so the first thing I think I want to do is bring some of the land up on this, I guess would be southern bank, to create a little more diversity and dynamic height areas in this downtown core. Okay, so like I said, I think what we're going to do here is just raise this ground up a bit, because I think not only will it give us a little more space to work because we'll have less slope, I think it'll also just help this highway section, this Robin Highway and Cypress Highway, which we'll rename all these highways, I think. It'll just help integrate that a little better into the surrounding area, and again, just give us more areas to play on, because I have an idea that we'll get to in a little bit, probably not today, about what we can kind of use some of these steps for and how we can integrate some transportation and some other things so that even though we flattened everything out to begin with, this doesn't end up feeling like one big flat area city, because that I think is kind of boring. So we're just going to start with that, and then I have to figure out exactly how we're going to do this connection. But what I want to do is get a nice big 6-lane divided road here, and I think we can use this one with the suspension just for a little bit of style. And if we're looking at our city, I kind of want this to go about right down the middle, so something kind of like where this turns to, because I don't want it to be too perfect. So I think kind of something like, and we're gonna make this to be we want this to be a bridge section. There we go. So something about like that. And now I just have to decide if I want, I think we're actually going to go with 2, because I don't think I want a pillar here right in the middle of our river. So we're just going to stretch this out a little bit and move this guy over. And yeah, that'll work. And then we're going to bring this up. So because I want, looks like we missed a node somewhere. So let's try this again. 1, 2, 3. That should be all of them. There we go. Oh, but it looks like that actually messes up with where those. Oh, no, I guess that's good. So we're going to bring this bridge up a bit. Because we want this to be an elevated section coming into our downtown core. So then we're going to go back with just a 6-lane divided road and continue this. Not too far, and we're going to keep it nice. Oops, keep it nice and level. So let's get this up. 0.2 is fine, and right about I think there should do pretty good. And that's honestly probably even a little too high, but that's all stuff we can adjust. So then the next thing I want to do is, now that I'm looking at this, I actually think I want to reposition this a little bit. So I didn't want to be too symmetrical and all that, but now that we're doing it, I think we are going to be a little more symmetrical. So let's get this a little lower this time. Kind of roughly about the same height as this kind of pass through. And then we're going to take this right about there, I think we'll do. Yep, that'll work. And then again, 6-lane divided road, and we're just going to bring this out to about there. And then we'll get a 4-lane divided road that's going to be ground level, and this is going to be the start of our grid for, you know, this will be fairly gridded, at least in sections. So probably about there will work. And now, again, if you're from a particular West Coast city, which I'll leave as a mystery for the moment, you may recognize what's going to happen next. So we're going to bring this one down with a 3-lane to about here, and then the same way right over there. And then we're just going to flip this one around so that that one comes back. And then we'll take we'll go back to our 3-lane road, and we're just going to take this straight through our city. So just a nice thing. We even got the zoning blocks to line up that we're absolutely not going to use, but hey, they're there. All right, and then right about midway about here, we're just going to branch off a little bit with, I'm just going to use the alleyway just because they're a little more low profile than even just the regular one-way streets. And so we'll bring those in, and then what I actually am going to do is then switch this to a 2-lane so that it can be a little bit smoother. And then we're going to get rid of basically, maybe we leave that crosswalk, but all of these will go. As well as any of these stoplights. Those are good. That one's going to go. This stoplight will go. And then we're going to make sure that we're not doing a left turn here, that we're not doing a left turn there, and that we're not doing a right turn here, and that we're not doing a right turn there. And it looks like we are safe from this U-turn at the moment. Let's check using the lane connector tool, and so we're just going to get rid of all unsafe just to be safe. All right, so that's the gist, and then we're going to take another 4-lane road. Yep. And I'm just going to use this to create a nice even grid here. And then from here, right about, that may be a little close. We'll go here. We're going to bring this across. And I'm actually going to get rid of this road because I don't know exactly how I want that grid to lay out quite yet. So I don't want to commit to that one. But then we're going to go back to... I'm wondering if we do use the alleyway or just go... We're just going to try the 1-lane road for the moment and see if that works. I'm going to force this as an elevated section. And then... so we'll start here, and we're just going to bring this around. And, oh, did not connect correctly. So let's make sure we're actually on this. There we go. So let's see, this is about, I want to make sure this is the same as the other side. So the best way to do that, we've got a full loop around, and then we're, looks like 18.45 is the distance. So we should be able to bring that in and then connect that here. And then let's see if we can do about the same 18.48, 18 point, I think that's pretty close. And I missed again. So again, if you are from this city, you probably know exactly what this is. If you're not, there is a entrance into downtown Portland in Oregon that crosses the river and has more or less this exact layout. And I thought this was a really cool way to kind of span a river and enter a city and give you lots of entry points to work with. So I think that is going to be a great kind of centerpiece and a cool looking road that we can have here. Let's make sure these are ground. I just want to make sure that we don't have any bridge sections. So yeah, this is going to kind of be a nice big centerpiece for our downtown. And it actually does have a similar, we have something similar going on in Blackfoot where the highway comes off and spans into two one-way sections. So we do have that going on here as well. But it's a pretty, it's a good system. I kind of like that as an easy way for traffic to flow in and out from, this is obviously a highway road, and we'll see if we end up upgrading this to an actual highway. It is just a regular city street, but I think that makes sense coming off of this highway over here. So, and the other thing I want to do is just adjust some of how these work. So I want to do key walls on the outside of these like that. And then also, yeah, also there and here. But then I'm going to keep this connected to the ground on the inside. And I'm going to use the slope tool. In Portland, this has actually a parking lot built in. It's also a lot bigger. It spans much more distance. So this is a little tight. And I think what we're going to do, at least for now, is if I can grab this height. Let's see. Just want to grab that, the height of this. There we go. And then grab the slope tool and slope this in. And I think this could be just a nice little kind of decorative green space. Oh, that didn't quite work. There we go. Yeah, and just let this kind of be bushes and trees and something that looks kind of nice, and then we can have maybe parking stuff around here. But I want this to be a little more flush with the ground out here. So yeah, that I think is going to be a great entrance to our city, and I think we can get a little bit more grid going on. And let's just go with a couple of 2-lane roads. They actually do have roads in Portland really close to these coming off. So kind of like right about there. That looks like it was, did that be turned into, oh, it's got the key wall on. There we go. And so we'll do kind of something semi-similar, and we can bring these down. That'll work. And then we already have this road for our train station, so we're just going to continue that, and that can be something that kind of breaks the grid a bit. I'm actually going to, I'm just looking at these train tracks. I think we're going to trim this back a bit. We will keep a little bit of that, but just not quite as long. All right, that is looking good. And I think we'll get another 4-lane road going off this way for kind of an outer arterial, and then take this. I don't want to take that too much farther because I think we do have some stuff to figure out here. So we'll leave that. And then, let's see, just take some 2-lane roads, and we're just going to kind of fill some of these blocks in. I don't want to go too much, actually. I think we'll fill some stuff in, but I want to really dictate where roads are, a lot around where kind of buildings are. If you look at downtown Portland, it's the blocks are really like 1-to-1 squares. A lot of cities will have these kind of long, narrow blocks like this. And Portland's blocks actually look a little more like something like this, like a square. So whether or not we lean fully into that or not, we'll see. But it does kind of do a good job of having some of the larger buildings kind of be in their own block. So there's kind of one large building per block. So I don't want to get too caught up. In fact, actually, while we're talking about it, I'm actually going to bring this down a little bit more and just, we're going to start with some of these square. I know that these are rectangle, but at least we get a square here. And then let's see if we can't start to manipulate our grid a little bit. And another one might be maybe right around there. Looks like I get that nice and even where it should be with our zoning grid that we're, again, not going to use at all. Okay. So I think that is more or less going to be the extent of our core downtown grid. It'll start to deviate from such a square block area down here, but I think for this, kind of financial district, I think this makes sense. We are also going to have a couple of other bridges, like Portland. This isn't going to be the only bridge into downtown. In fact, we probably will end up having one here, something like that. Probably we're just going to stick that there for now as a bit of a placeholder, and maybe actually that's what this becomes, but we'll have to see again what we do with the train. And for scale, because when I was first kind of practicing, or not practicing, but just kind of testing some stuff out, it seemed like, and this is a fairly closed off space, but it actually does, it's bigger than it seems. Scale in this game, is a little weird. So when you look at, let's take like a big, office building, like this is a pretty good sized building, and it's not taking up a ton of space here. I mean, you could throw that in there, no problem. Actually, that's not bad at all. So I think that is a pretty good start for our grid here. And yeah, I think now let's take a look probably at how we're going to connect some of these other, like we'll definitely make this connection go and figure out what we're doing over here. Okay, so let's figure out what we're going to do here. I think the first thing we're going to do is lower this highway a little bit. So let's move it here, and I'm just going to grab maybe right around, actually let's start about here and find that's a long one. Find all of our nodes around here. And actually we'll let that one curve down, and then let's see, we bring this down. Oh, missed one. Maybe something like that, and we'll just match this guy up, and then I'm actually gonna grab this guy and bring this up just a little bit, because I think I do actually want this to go above. So we're just not much, just a smidge. And then I do think actually we're going to switch to a highway bridge. I just think this bridge looks cooler, and also I think the highway, just the sidewalks, not that you shouldn't walk across this, but we can have some pedestrian bridges. It just wasn't quite feeling like what I wanted. So we're going to probably get that in about there, and then let's see if we can't grab just this end here and pull this right about there. And then this looks a little weird, but I have an idea that I think is gonna work. But we'll see. So then I'm going to go with the regular 4-lane highway. Where are we here? 2, 3, 4 lane right here, and just add a little nubbin on the end here. Let's make sure we're keeping this nice and flat. Okay, so that'll give us enough to cross over. And then the other thing, I think I've been looking at I love this this mountain here. I think we'll end up getting like a radio tower up here and maybe a little lookout point. I also just think this view is going to be really awesome when the city's built out. So I want to keep this overall, but I do think we're going to need to shave it back a little bit. I've been looking at this thing the whole time that I've been kind of flying around thinking about stuff, and I think this is just feeling a little tight over here. So I'm just going to bring this little hump down. I just think we're going to benefit a lot from having just this much more space. So I think that, and that looks, I think that's looking okay too. We can bring this down just a little bit, maybe kind of like that. Yeah, that'll work. And then let's get rid of all these trees just so that we can kind of focus on what we're doing here. Also get the trees off the rock areas. So we'll just get rid of all of that. That should do it. Okay. And then, so now I'm going to take some of these 2-lane highways and just kind of branch these off a bit. Kind of a little bit like that, and then just have it come down. And let's not force the bridge here so that this can meet the ground like that. And then we're going to do kind of the same thing here, except we're going to keep our elevation. Oh, I guess we already were. We're going to bring this one in. Oh, now we're going down. So let's make sure we're nice and flat. We can adjust it again, of course, like that. And then we'll bring this all the way down and turn off Forest Bridge and let this meet kind of like something like that, roughly. And then obviously we'll flip it around the other way. And that one we will force the bridge. Okay, so that works, and we've got plenty of clearance, although that that looks insane. And we'll have to make sure that we just move that node to get it so it's not infringing on our other highway here. And yeah, that'll work. We can create a little more clearance, both by bringing this up, I think, and by bringing that down. And now I'm going to convert these somewhere to 3 lanes just so that we can get some off-ramp stuff going off. So we're just going to have to kind of create our nodes, maybe right about there and kind of right about there ought to do. And then we can just turn that into a 3-lane and that into a 3-lane, and we'll just let those continue on a bit. Yeah, like that. And that's good. And then we'll just get rid of that nightmare. Oh, that got a little more complicated. This one should hopefully be a little smoother. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just reconnect this with a straight 3. Boom. Okay. So here's where things are going to get interesting. There's not a 3 or a 6-lane bridge in this style. And I do want to have some off ramps to kind of wrap around off here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take this 1-lane highway and we're just going to run it on the outside. We will force the bridge. Kind of like that did not force the bridge. But I think we're going to be able to get away with this. So we're just going to have this kind of slip lane run outside. And I think what's also going to help is to really extend this intersection, and that's going to make this be a lot smoother. And then I'll just look a little bit better. And we can just kind of manipulate this a little bit. And let's convert this to a bridge section. Oh, it is, but it has always with the key walls is always the one I forget to turn off. Okay, so that I think is working, and let's just bring this down to the right object height. Yeah, and then we're gonna take this and go from here to this guy. So probably actually put that a little far than we needed. So I wonder if we just kind of bring it in like that. Obviously we'll smooth that out, but that I think is going to work and kind of be a little, I think that's something just a little different. I don't know that it's like a real thing necessarily to have a lane outside of kind of the suspension tower, but it's going to serve our purpose really well. And yeah, it's something unique for sure. So let's try it again then on this other side. And we'll just throw that in and see if we can just kind of do it this way. Is that gonna work? Well, yeah, it's gonna take some maneuvering, so I'm just gonna go and massage all this stuff so that it's all fitting in place correctly. Okay, I think that is looking pretty good. This, I think, worked. I wasn't sure if it would, but I think it does. I did erase the supports, at least these in the middle and these over here, and I might have to figure something else out because these do feel a little floaty where they're clearly not attached. Maybe we can kind of... was trying to at least think that if they were attached to the suspension tower that they would look a little more connected, like they're getting support from the main structure, which I think is fine here, but at the end I might need to put those back. But for now, that is working great. And then I was able to get these off ramps on, so if you're coming off and you are wanting to get going, I guess that would be... Oh, it looks like my compass got... Oh no, I guess that's east, so southeast, yeah. If you're wanting to head southeast, that's how you can do it. And then if you're coming from the west, you can get off here and head into town. So overall, I mean, it looks a little weird from straight down, but yeah, that's gonna work. Okay, so now I want to take a look at this part of town where this highway kind of comes in with this whole railroad system. And I've been thinking about exactly what we're gonna do here and how we're gonna make this work, because this does get really narrow here with roads, and it kind of closes off an entire side of town, which is not great. It doesn't make it a very easy transition to what will be this kind of suburban area. Well, the suburban area will be out here, but there'll be other kind of inner city stuff here. So I thought about raising the land up and having this come across and over. I thought about a number of things, but I think the actual thing to do is going to be just to move this highway over to the right a bit and give ourselves a little more space in this corridor. I think ultimately that's going to just make a lot more sense. I like where the highway is now a lot, but I think the easiest solution to solving this is going to be to just move it over a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just scoot that over real quick, and then we'll figure out how this is all going to connect. Okay, so I think that actually is great. And then I also just moved this train line over a little more to give us a little more space. And now we just have a ton more room here for some roads. And to be honest, I actually think this is kind of a cooler highway entrance and feels a little more Seattle-like. Coming up Highway 5, coming from the south, you do go through a bit of some... mountain is not the right word, but some elevated terrain, and there's trees, and I think this actually feels great. And now we've got this, you know, as you're coming around driving this way, you'll make this turn and you're going to get this crazy good kind of skyline reveal coming down this corridor, which I think is going to be really cool. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Now let's figure out exactly what to do here. So I think what we're going to do is bring up still a bit of earth. And I've really been liking this Mountain Brush 3, I think it is. Yeah. Just instead of the default brush, it just has a little bit of texture on the ends, and it doesn't really make a huge difference, but it's just what I've kind of been using lately. You can just see that the edges of this are just not totally smooth, and I think that helps a little bit. So this is, I think, way too high. Yeah. So we're going to bring this down a bit, but I just want to have a bit of a kind of an elevated corridor here for these train tracks to go through and create kind of a sunken railroad system, even though it's kind of on the main level. So I think that'll be a cool look. And then... so we're going to raise this up on this side a little bit as well. Just over here, because I think this is where we're going to have this kind of terminate coming across the train tracks here and onto the street. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to grab this guy and turn it over right about like that, and bring it across our train track here with a bridge. And then we're going to slope this down a bit, right about here-ish. We might need to turn that even a little bit more, I think. A little sharper turn here. And that was not even highway anyway, so let's make sure we're on highway. And parallel. There we go. So yeah, I think maybe even more like that. Get a nice straight bridge here. Oh, did not get that in. To about there. And then I'm going to turn parallel road off here, because what I want to do is... and actually, let's do this first. I'm going to convert this to a one-way. So right about there, and then I'm going to take this out to about here, I think, and then we're going to do the same thing going the other way. And make sure that we're at 90 degrees, which we were not, but we are now. Okay, but this one will just go this way. And then go back to highway. And have this, let's maybe do it the other direction. basically I want to kind of do something similar where these feed into one-way streets. So we'll do that like that, and then bring this one down to about here and have that connect. But I think we're even gonna go back and make this last section a regular street and have our kind of intersection be there. And this isn't quite straight here. Make sure that's just a nice straight line like that, but going the other way. Okay, I think that is going to be a good exit here for our highway. I'm going to convert this to actually just to ground, I think. Yeah. Like that, and probably make that section ground as well, or maybe keys on this section here so we retain the side walls. And then in terms of a little integration with this, what I'm going to do is just bring a little bit of elevation up on this side and a little bit extend this just a little bit here, and then convert this to just a 2-lane without key walls though. Oh, look, we've already got, wow, where did that police car come from? Got to be way over somewhere far away. And have a little off ramp running from here to meet up, but let's have this be a bridge to meet up with this highway here, so that if you're coming off this highway, you can get off and go over there. And then conversely, we're also going to convert this on this side. And what I want to do is kind of do something similar, is have an off ramp coming from here, starting right around here, and then wrapping around like this. And actually, maybe we can, let's see, probably push that back a little, actually. Kind of doing this, we'll keep the elevation even, and then bring this over to meet up right there, so we can actually convert part of this back. So maybe like right about there. Looks like we got enough clearance on the highway, and yeah, I think that's pretty good. And then looks like we can also probably, I guess this doesn't have to be 3 lanes coming down. More like that. And then we'll take a 4-lane city street, and I just want to kind of get something going from town to out here. So this is going to be kind of a weird intersection. Actually, I think we'll pull this back a little bit and flatten some of this so that we can have a bit of a smoother. So let's put this down. So coming from there, maybe from here, maybe even that's where it'll kind of take its turn and then start heading off in that direction. So we can then get this meeting down. Okay, I think that is gonna work. So you come off the highway here, and you can either go right, or we might kill this left turn maybe, but straight into the city. And then you can also get on the highway here. And yeah, I think that's looking good. Let's connect this to get off that way. And we can probably also turn this into another off-ramp there. So I think that's really gonna, I think that's feeling pretty good. That should give us enough clearance. Yeah, that's plenty. Awesome. All right, that's gonna be cool. And then the other thing I wanted to do over here was kind of figure out what we're gonna do. I think some railroad connecting, and I think it'd be really cool if it was running underneath this little section of the bridge. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with these layers that I think are be really cool. So let's run a track just kind of underneath this, like right about there. And I think, let's see, that's plenty of clearance. And then we'll bring a track from here and run this across. And that should have been a bridge, but didn't quite get it. That's a bit of a tight turn, so maybe we need to move this a little bit. Let's see. Let's back up one step here. So we'll bring this to about there. Now we will switch to a bridge. We'll keep our elevation kind of where it should be, right about 0.1 is good. And then from here, I think we can get a better turn going. Like, actually, let's build this first because it's having a hard time. So if we get that kind of in there, and I'm moving this right on the edge here because I want to leave space for potentially a second one if that makes sense at any point. And then from here, we should be able to sweep in like that. And I think that is a bit of a better turn. So that I think can be really cool. And then let's see if we can connect at least one more track to this. And this one I think maybe will just be a dead end track. And then I already kind of started, you can see with the land, I wanted to get another bridge coming out of the city. So I think kind of from here, we will just get this kind of going like that. And we'll turn this into an elevated section and bring this right across like that. And then this, we'll figure out where that goes, but that will be another way into town. So that works. We gotta have a bridge over here. And yeah, I think this is feeling really good. Okay, and then I do just want to get some more of this road layout kind of laid down here real quick. So let's just smooth and flatten this out a little bit, give ourselves a little more room. And I think what we're going to end up doing is widening this corridor a little bit. If you look at kind of Highway 5 going through Seattle and highways going through Portland, they do have, these are, you know, fairly robust or fairly wide kind of sections that they have to make room for all the off ramps and various things. So we're going to go ahead and give ourselves some space for that, and then we can kind of tighten things back up when that makes sense. And okay, and so I think first things first, let's get our roads going across. We'll kind of have these coming straight across, certainly these two main one-way thoroughfares, and then we'll get one of these 2-lane roads coming across, as well as this one. And then I think we have a 4-lane here, not a 6-lane. And we'll get that coming over. And then let's see, we can probably smooth out a bit of this. So assuming we would have some sort of off-ramp coming up here, that looks like a good space for it. So let's just go ahead and kind of get a little slope going here. Maybe it's really not much of one actually, which is kind of nice because we have the elevation here. So that actually feels like a great place for that. So let's see, highway, one way, and kind of just bring this in about like this, and that'll work. And I think we're gonna keep the, wondering like if you're coming down these main corridors, are you coming on this to potentially, you know, get on or off the freeway? So we're gonna need an on-ramp. It's gonna be kind of tight to get one in there, so I think we'll put one in kind of going underneath this like that, even though that looks way janky. Let's make sure. I think this just got lowered a little much. Have that. Oh, is that the same height? No way. There we go. So yeah, then we'll just connect that there. And that clearance is probably not looking great. So let's see if we can't move this node down a bit and then lower it. Should give us, that's still pretty tight. I do want this to be cozy, which is a perfect name for that. I do want this to be snug. I want things to feel really, I've been looking a lot at this Seattle highway system that goes through town, and it is tight. And I think I think that's a really cool look. So I do want to maintain that. And then let's see if we can't see where else we can get some of this stuff in here. All right, so I think this is feeling really good. I really like how kind of wide and complicated and messy it looks. I think it really reminds me of that section of Seattle and other places, but that's mostly what I was looking at. This section is a little tight here with this this merging, trying to get across there and then, you know, getting off here, but coming along here and trying to get up there. We'll see if that blocks traffic or backs anything up with the AI, but if it does, we'll deal with it. If not, we're good. But overall, yeah, I really like everything that's going on here. I think there's a lot of messy stuff that looks intentional, but also a lot of realistic stuff just kind of looks kind of wild. So I think we've got that look going, and I wasn't really intending on building this section up in this run, but it just kind of happened naturally, and I think it works really well. So this feels like a really good connection, and you can kind of get on and off at various places here and really make your way across the city. So I think that is working really well. And just from up here, I think this is going to be a really cool looking downtown once we start to get more details in here. But we did not really get to our bridge section over here that I talked about at the beginning of the episode. So we will do that first thing next time. But overall, I think it was worth spending time back here and really digging into this highway system, because I think once all the cars are driving around and going all their different directions, I think it's really going to look really cool. So thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing and liking and all that stuff. I really appreciate it. And we'll have a new episode coming out here soon. So we will see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.